So if we go way back to Egypt with the Israelites, and they're on their way, who remembers the story of the talking donkey? If you remember, you can raise your hand. Yeah, okay, so for those of you who don't know the story of the talking donkey, basically the Israelites have been let out of Egypt and all these plagues, and they're a really big group, and so this tribe or kingdom is really nervous about the Israelites passing through. So they hire on this prophet guy named Balaam to travel to go curse the Israelites. Now the Israelites are chosen by God. And so when Balaam gets there, through a lot of other things, he ends up blessing the Israelites instead of cursing them. Now Balak is the king, and he is the head of a group called the Amalekites. And the Amalekites are actually related to Haman, who is the bad guy in this story, because he's the one who wants to try to kill them off. So instead of cursing Balak, the Amalekites, wants to curse the Israelites, they become blessed. And in the Bible it says that through that, their kingdom, Balak's kingdom, will be cursed and will be destroyed. Well, that doesn't happen at the time. So we fast forward a lot of years later, and we go to the kings with King Saul. And if you guys have read recently the story of King Saul, he gets his kingship taken away because he doesn't follow the orders Samuel told him to. So he goes to war, and God tells him that he's going to win like crazy. He's going to destroy these people who happen to be the Amalekites. He's going up against the Amalekites, and God says, these people will be utterly destroyed. We'll kill all of them off. You need to destroy everything, including their animals. Well, so Saul doesn't. He goes and he keeps the animals, and he also doesn't destroy the king. So the king is taken back to Jerusalem, and Samuel comes to them and is like, hey, what did you do? Now, the king Balak was related to the king currently, and he is related, great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of Haman, because he is the lone survivor of the Amalekites. And so he's not killed. Saul loses his kingship, stuff happens, David becomes king, a lot of years go by. Saul's family line has still not succeeded in completing the commandment that God gave to Saul. So we go forward a bunch of years, and there's lovely King Ahasuerus. He owns a kingdom all the way from Persia all the way down to North Africa. He's got a really big kingdom now. And if you look at it there, we have two people. We have Esther and Mordecai, who, from following genealogies, you can see are actually great-great-great-great-grandkids of Saul. So if you look at the Bible's genealogies there, you see Haman, who was the bad guy, fulfilling and moving forward within, remember, he survived because Saul didn't follow through with his commandment given him by God. But Esther was given that chance to follow through with her family line and move forward with not only saving her people, blessing her people, but at the same time fulfilling the commandment that her great-great-grandfather years before failed to move forward with. So, when we're going through life, when we're living our life, just remember that every moment of life, even if you're not looking back at it, you could be placed in that moment to make those decisions for specifically that time. And God doesn't make any mistakes in there. He had planned way back when the Israelites were going across in Egypt, across the desert with Balak, that Saul and Esther would have this unique story, and Mordecai and Esther would get to fulfill that plan he was moving forward to. So, there we go. That's a little background on Esther that I've learned, and I hope you guys enjoyed this play. And yeah, we'll see you afterwards. Now it took place in the 3rd year of King Ahasuerus' reign. He gave a banquet for all the princes and lieutenants. He displayed the splendor and glory of his vast kingdom for 180 days. Queen Vashti also gave a banquet for the women in the palace which belonged to King Ahasuerus. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded his servants to bring forth Queen Vashti with the royal crown in order to display her beauty, for she was beautiful. But she refused to come to the king's command. The king became furious and burned with wrath. He called for his advisors. As to what should be done for her behavior, it was decided that a royal edict would be published, that Queen Vashti may no longer come into the presence of the king, and her royal position would be given to another more worthy than she.
His law was put into order, and the search for a new queen began.
Esther, how have you been? I see you've been productive. Trust all is well?
Yes, Cousin, all is well, but your countenance seems to have fallen. Whatever is the matter?
Ah, I don't wish to worry you. It may be nothing. Oy vey. Listen. Esther, you've always meant so much to me. I've treasured you since you were small. Enjoyed watching you grow into a fine young lady.
Cousin, you seem concerned. You're worrying me. What news is troubling you?
Ah, I don't wish to worry you. It may be nothing. Okay, let us not speak of trouble now. You want me with your presence? I wish not to disturb our union. Instead, this time to quiet solace. You're not nice.
Mordecai knew that he could not wait long to tell his beloved cousin about the king's recent orders, for Esther had a captivating beauty and a quiet spirit he worried would easily take notice of the king's men.
Esther, you've always brought me so much joy. If you were thinking of hypothetically happened to you, what would become of me? For I had no rightful children of my own.
Cousin, you're speaking nonsense, and once again you're worrying me. Whatever is the matter?
The king is sending out officers from the palace to find all the young and beautiful and to bring them to the palace, only to be chosen as a replacement for the queen.
When is this to take place for you? How does it concern me?
You are among those required to report to the palace this very morning. You must trust God to direct our paths, and all may be well. Still, I must ask you to promise one thing, dear cousin, that if you are chosen, you must not reveal our youth. Conceal your tread, and it may be well with you.
Of course, Cousin, I trust your judgment, and I'll do all as you say.
Now let us break bread and thank our Creator for the blessings which He has given.
his right hand of righteousness.
Do not fear, for God is with you. Do not be afraid, for He is your God. Surely He will strengthen you. Surely He will uphold you with His right hand of righteousness. I will not fear, for God is with me. I will not be afraid, for He is my God. Surely He will strengthen me. Surely He will uphold me with His right hand of righteousness. Of
When the time came for Esther, Mordecai's cousin, whom he had taken as his daughter, to go to the king and the royal palace, she obtained favor in the sight of all who saw her.
The king loved Esther more than all the women in the palace, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the women. So he set the crown on her head and declared her queen instead of Vashti. Oh, but she did not reveal her family and her people, for Esther obeyed Mordecai's command, as she was brought up by him.
Hello there. This uniform guy. I'm Mordecai. I live nearby. Turn up your mic. How goes the world? Listen, my cousin was brought here recently. One of the young ladies gathered to find a replacement for the queen.
Yes, I know.
Her name is Esther, and
Yes, I know. He seems to be making a good impression on everyone in the palace.
that's my girl. She has a special way about her. Listen, I plan to come by here around this time each day. If you hear anything, any news is starting, you need to let me know and fill me in, so to speak.
One day, the king's storekeepers plotted against the king, and Mordecai heard about it. He reported this to Esther, who told the king using Mordecai's name. When it was confirmed, the two men were hanged, and these events were recorded in the chronicles in the presence of the king.
After these things, the king promoted his loyal servant Haman to a seat above all the princes who were with him. The king commanded all the other servants within the king's gate to bow and to pay homage to him, but a certain man would not listen.
my socks. Well, let me tell you about your Jews in the life. Pleasure, subject, I'm just your average guy. Won't matter what my critics try to say. Every single moment I'm the hero of the day.
Sir, Haman, your majesty.
Now, what do you want? Spit it out!
Is that just,
I haven't got all day. Come on, man.
is that, have you noticed that there's one man who refuses to honor you, sir?
Who is this man who would defy my honor?
Sir, a man named Mordecai, praised because he is not a Jew and does not need a voucher.
Jew, eh? Our families have an ancient enemy. The Jews once tried to eliminate my people. My people have eagerly awaited revenge ever since. Now see what can be done about this cocky enemy is tried once and for all.
Haman disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, but instead sought to destroy all of the Jews who were throughout the whole kingdom.
So, it's come to my attention there's a rebellion in your own kingdom. If it pleases the queen, let a decree be written that they be destroyed. It's in my belief that this rebellion must be destroyed immediately before it comes more dangerous.
Of course, I trust your judgment. Take my signature and write the decree in my name. The people you speak of are given to you to do with them as seems good to you.
Letters were sent to all the king's provinces to destroy and to kill and to annihilate all the Jews, both young and old, women and children. Mordecai went as far as the king's gate in mourning clothes, and his distress was laid to Esther. She feared for her cousin and sent fresh clothes to him. But Esther refused. So Esther commissioned her personal servant to figure out what and why Mordecai had reduced himself into such a state of distress.
Dear sir, the queen has seen your recent distress and is worried for your health. Show us what is wrong that we may know it.
A wicked man by the name of Haman, who has abhorred the Jewish nation for years, is plotting to destroy us. Here, take this copy of the declaration and give it to Esther so that she may know what will become of us. Tell her to go before the king and plead on behalf of myself and of her people. Esther, do not think in your heart that you will escape in the king's palace. Remain silent and relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews in another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet only God knows whether you will come to the kingdom for such a time as this.
My cousin knows I must risk being put to death if I go to the inner court of the king without being called. For unless he holds out his golden scepter, I will surely perish. I have not been called by him for as many as 30 days. And let all the Jews start by fast for me for 3 days. Then I will go into the king. If I perish, I perish.
kingdom, it shall be given.
If it pleases the king and Haman, come today to the banquet which I prepared for them.
Bring Haman quickly that he do as Esther has said.
After the banquet, the king again asks Esther what is her request, and he again confirms that up to half his kingdom he will grant her request. We must believe that God's timing had not yet revealed to Esther to answer the king's questions, for many events had yet to unfold, and she hid her true motives for one more day.
Now, Esther, are you ready to answer my question? What is your petition and what is your request?
My petition and my request is this. If I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition, or my request, then let the king and Haman come to the banquet tomorrow that I will prepare for them, and then I will follow you as spies.
It's not easy being this intelligent. Some people talk, but their thoughts are irrelevant. Sometimes I dine with the king of luxury. In fact, I'm hungry. Grapes, please. So that people always laugh. My own mother once out of graft walk the streets and people always bow. And if anyone refuses, I will quickly cut them down.
He's a man, the coolest in the land. Worship where he stands because Haman is the man. He's a man, he's a man, the coolest in the land. Worship where he stands because Haman is the man.
While everyone at the gate is chanting praise to Haman, puffing up his own pride, he happens to walk past Mordecai at the king's gate, and his anger ignites. He arrives deflated, and his lovely wife notices his demeanor is unexpectedly downcast.
Darling, whatever is the matter? You look like your riches have failed. Ah ha 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 ha!
I am the richest man in the province under the king himself. The king has promoted me to sit above the princes. I have 10 strong sons. Today I was invited by the queen herself to a banquet, and tomorrow I am again invited along with the king.
Oh, my husband, you are so blessed. Whatever reason do you have for sad?
All of this avails me nothing, as long as I see Mordecai the Jew at the gate.
Darling, this is no worry at all. You must not let such a silly thing pester you any longer. But the gallows is very nice. When you're once again in the presence of the king, simply suggest Mordecai be hanged on it. Then go merrily with the king to the queen's banquet. You will soon be with yourself again.
That night, the king suffers a bout of insomnia. Perhaps he is troubled about the strange events of the day, or about the queen's unusual behavior. For whatever reason, he lies awake, feeling disturbed, and we see the hand of God once again. A servant is instructed to bring the king's chronicles to be read before him. The king is startled to hear that the plot to kill him was discovered by Mordecai, and he becomes intrigued.
What honor or dignity has been bestowed upon Mordecai for his heroism?
Nothing has been done.
Haman, what shall be done for the man whom the king delights to honor?
The king delights to honor more than me.
Sire, for the man whom the king delights, without a royal rose be brought, the king has wine, and a horse which the king has ridden, which has a royal crest placed on the head. Then let the robe and horse be brought to the house of the man whom the king delights to honor,
Leave nothing undone of all that you have spoken.
Romans 12:21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Do not be overcome by evil.
Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Do not be overcome by evil. With good, with good. Overcome evil with good. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Do not be overcome by evil. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Do not be overcome by evil. With good, with good, with good. Overcome evil with good.
Be overcome by evil.
My queen, you have outdone yourself again. The meal was lovely, and I am well pleased. Now, will you tell us, what is your petition, and what is your request? Up to half the kingdom it shall be granted to you.
My petition and my request is this. If I have found favor in the sight of the king, if it pleases the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we have been sold, my people and I to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated. Had we been sold as male and female slaves, I would have held my tongue, although the enemy could never compensate for those of us.
Who is he, and where is he who would dare defy in his heart to do such a thing?
The adversary and the enemy is this wicked Haman.
Haman sees his chance to make his own petition to the queen, and he stands before her, pleading for his life, for he saw the evil was determined against him by the king. When the king had returned from the palace garden to the place of the banquet, Haman had fallen across the couch where Esther was.
Will he now assault the queen while I am in the house?
As the words left his mouth, they covered Haman's face.
Sir, Haman has built a gallows this very day in order to hang Mordecai, who has spoken on the king's behalf. It is at the house of Haman this very moment and ready to use.
Then hang Haman on it immediately.
How can I counteract the evil that has been done against my people? Let whatever can be done to preserve my life and my people be done. That it be written to revoke the letters devised by Haman the Jew, which he wrote to destroy us. For how can I bear to see the evil that will come against us? I would not have known him. My cousin Mordecai not warned me.
Esther, this day I give you authority over the house of Haman, who was an enemy of the Jews. My officials, your cousin Mordecai was honored this very day for saving my life from a plot to murder me. Let us summon him to the palace and address this issue with him. While I cannot revoke the previous decree, perhaps there is a way. I will allow no evil to come to you, and will honor your people on your behalf. Mordecai, take my signet ring, and write a decree in my name concerning the Jews. I cannot revoke the previous decree, but you may write a counter-decree as you wish.
After Haman was hanged on the gallows, that he had prepared for Mordecai on the day appointed for the Jews to be executed, the opposite occurred. The Jews themselves overpowered the one who hated them, and the fear of them fell upon all the people. Mordecai became great in the king's house, wearing royal apparel of purple and blue and white and fine linen. Straight in the king's house fame spread. The Jews defeated their enemies with the stroke of the sword, with slaughter and destruction. And the fear of the Jews fell upon their enemies.
My queen, your people have defeated all their enemies this day. My officials have helped your people, and yours is a nation revered and respected. Even the 10 sons of Haman are dead. But is there anything more you request? For you, I will grant.
If it pleases the king, Lord the king, then let Haman's 10 sons be hanged on the gallows also.
So the king commanded this to be done. And all the Jews that were in Shushan assembled it together and made a day of feasting and gladness. So they called these days Purim, in order to celebrate the overthrow of the wicked Haman. Through all this, Esther proved Mordecai's prophetic works, that she was indeed placed in the kingdom for such a time as this.
I didn't dream it. You didn't.